century English physicist Sir Isaac Newton when he said, "I seem to have been only like a boy playing on the seashore and diverting myself now and then, finding a smoother pebble or a prettier shell than ordinary, whilst the great ocean of truth lay undiscovered before me." The Economist goes on to say that some mysteries may remain so forever. The idea of a multiverse containing an indefinite, possible, infinite number of universes, each with its own laws of physics, is mathematically plausible. Does it all matter? A cynic might ask. Will human beings really be better off knowing such things? The answer, written on the tomb in St. Paul's Cathedral of Newton's contemporary, Sir Christopher Wren, says this: "If you seek his monument, look around you." The magazine went on to say, "For the monument to Newton's pebble collecting child is no less than the modern world." Now, for scientists who live a life of significance, and for that matter, relevance, the task of attempting to understand the universe never goes away. For Christians to live a life of significance, and for that matter, relevance, the task of understanding the human drama never goes away. We talked last week about the absolute importance of love to be able to live a life of meaning and purpose, remembering Paul's words, "If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I am nothing but a noisy gong or a clanging cymbal. And if I have all faith so as to remove mountains, but have not love, I am nothing." Today we talk about another essential component of living a life of significance, and that is expanding and enriching the mind. Minding the mind, if you please. When we were vacationing and enjoying our family reunion in North Carolina about 6 weeks ago, one of the folks at the beach house was my 15-year-old niece, who was wrapped up in the 19th century Russian novelist Dostoevsky's classic novel, Crime and Punishment, primarily the portrait of one man's struggle with guilt and morality. Not the easiest book in the world to read, as you can imagine. But I must say that I was impressed that this sophomore in high school has selected that book to read on her own, in her own free time, knowing the number of choices out there. And it was obviously obvious by her thoughtful participation in the nightly family dinner conversations about philosophy and religion and politics and so on, that Caitlin over the years had furnished her mind with good and meaningful things. A couple years ago, I mentioned a radio commercial that caught my attention in the whole realm of minding the mind. It was a Rosetta Stone commercial urging the listener to learn another language, Spanish or German or French. And one of the bylines was, "Will buying a new pair of shoes make you a better person?" The point, of course, being, instead of buying something that you might not need, take that same money and spend it on your mind. Imagine what it would be like to speak another language, how windows of opportunity would open up for you. Taking the same concept, but this time in terms of time, 15-year-old Caitlin spent little time with her iPhone, but a lot of time with Dostoevsky in Crime and Punishment. Which exercise will serve her better, not only today, but in years to come? Well, we all know the answer. Will be keeping up on Facebook and Twitter, or will be challenging her mind with the expansion of her own vocabulary and the expansion of her own understanding of the human drama and the moral choices that accompany that same drama? Now, this is not to knock the Facebooks and the rest. It's a wonderful way to keep up with good family and friends and pictures of kids and grandkids and all those third and fourth cousins. I know all that. But like anything else, there's a limit. There's moderation. In order for the scriptures and the great works of literature to be able to compete for a piece of your mind. We commissioned our teachers today on Kickoff Sunday at the next service, one of the most important jobs, to teach our Sunday school children the fundamentals of the Christian faith. Fundamentals, if learned and internalized, will put them on the path to living a significant life. If our children only learn the basic, very well-known stories and parables of the Bible, they will have gotten a head start. The Sermon on the Mount, for instance, is the Magna Carta of the Christian way in life. Get to know the Sermon on the Mount, and you get to know significance. Parables as the prodigal son and the talents and the great banquet deliver unforgettable lessons of love and opportunity and forgiveness. And the understanding and memorization of these basics of faith will change young people's lives. The same applies for all of us in a variety of ways. I've discovered over the years that there is a direct connection between my outlook and my understanding of the world and the amount of good reading that I am currently doing. When I finish a book, like the biography of Bonhoeffer, the German pastor who was hanged for his role in the German resistance to Hitler, or I read a commentary on the parables of Jesus, a new commentary, or I read Joseph Ellis's depiction of Thomas Jefferson's personal moral struggle with slavery, but was still unable to free his own slaves because of the cultural and economic pressures of his time. Or remember the number of people who have actually told me how their lives were changed by reading C.S. Lewis's book, Mere Christianity, or the beauty and the will of the human spirit captured by Hemingway in The Old Man and the Sea, or finding myself in the middle now of Harper Lee's Go Set a Watchman, the book that she actually wrote before To Kill a Mockingbird was this recent release. When I put the reading into high gear, I see that's a very important piece of the puzzle in living a significant life. The heart we were talking about last week, the ultimate importance of love in living a significant life, furnishing the mind helps the heart understand the complexities of human behavior and the role we as Christians have in building bridges between individuals and even nations. Without a foundation of knowledge, one can easily flounder in his or her pursuit of peace and one's understanding of his or her role that Christianity has played in the historical human drama. There are no easy answers, we know, to complex questions. But the more we learn and the more we read, the more self-confident we feel, and the better prepared we are to share the roots and the foundations of our faith, and therefore live a significant life. You know, when the American frontier was bustling with opportunity in the 19th century, and thousands of Americans were working their way westward, many denominations and groups of Christians were calling for the seminaries and the colleges to release their trained pastors to come out and help them plant and build churches. A lot of pastors ended up going out with little biblical or theological education. But the demand and the desire was so high that it didn't make any difference to the hopeful homesteaders wishing to build their communities with the church at the center. The many Presbyterians who worked their way westward were asking for the same thing. Send us some pastors to help us build our religious communities. And the answers from the seminary was always this: we don't send our guys out until they know what they're talking about. Which simply meant the significance of the Christian faith requires a significant understanding of it. It's that important to us. Then the cry from the frontier Presbyterians would be, can't you give us at least a few gospel crumbs? And the answer would always be, no, you're going to have to wait for the whole loaf. You see, the whole loaf of the Christian faith includes not only love and good works, as we talked about last week, but also an understanding of the drama of human life, played out in the scriptures, in the myriad works of literature that describe man's condition and man's hope for a better world, enlightening and furnishing our minds with great works helps each and every one of us live significant lives. Yesterday, I conducted a memorial service in Colorado for a good friend who died prematurely and unexpectedly. It was the first memorial service that I ever conducted outside in the middle of the mountains, literally. An area called Gold Creek Canyon, just west of Golden. His family selected that spot because Mark loved the mountains. He was a great skier, he was a good fly fisherman, and he loved to camp. In addition to the traditional scriptures that one uses at a memorial service, I was searching for an extra biblical source that might help with the sorrow and loss the family was feeling, but also pointed to the future for the minds and the hearts that were there. And I was glad for Emily Dickinson's poem called "Because I Could Not Stop for Death." And here are just a few of the lines. Because I could not stop for death, death kindly stopped for me. The carriage held but just ourselves in immortality. We passed the school where children strove at recess in the ring. We passed the fields of grazing grain. We passed the setting sun. Since then, 'tis centuries, but each feels shorter than the day. I first surmised the horses' heads were toward eternity. You see, life takes on a different feel. It takes on a greater hope. It takes on a greater significance when we enrich our minds with the beautiful thoughts of the Christian scriptures and the deepest thoughts of classic literature and the great writers today and yesterday. Let us go to his table.